restricting freedoms, quote unquote, may be necessary to fight climate change, according to Nazi Germany. The government may be forced to limit available choices for citizens in in order to battle predicted devastating consequences of climate change. It's super serial this time, guys. All the previous predictions have been a joke, but this time it's real. So that's the message of an opinion titled Climate Justice, published March 13th by the German Ethics Council. Ethics. Really? So in the opinion, the Ethics Council, a board of experts, yeah, clearly not, advisors established by German law, recommends actions to be taken by corporations, individuals, and governments to ensure effective climate change do not unjustly burden those who are not so well off. Oh, right. So also climate change is racist and classist too. Let's not forget that. Primarily, the Ethics Council says this should be done on a voluntary basis. Now, that's their way of making it seem like it's not that bad. Hey, guys, look, it's all voluntary. We're not going to force you to do anything. Yeah, I've been there before. I worked government contracts. I know what voluntary means. Not going to fool me with this one. So through individual self-commitment as an expression of one's individual freedom, if, for example, voluntarily abandoning a certain vacation, consumption, or mobility practices. However, the council's statement continues. On the grounds of justice, it can be morally required to contribute to measures to tackle climate change. If one's own exercise of freedom interferes in an unjust manner with the freedom and welfare of others or future generations, for example, through the consumption that's harmful to the climate, authorities may intervene and restrict with restrictions of freedom. Now, how is that a choice? You literally just said voluntary. In other words, if you cannot be shamed into behaving a way that's deemed morally correct by the elite, the government may simply have to force you. It's all voluntary, by the way. See, this is how they're going to try to justify it. You had the choice of obeying before we forced you. So therefore, it's still voluntary that we're forcing you because you had the choice to do this yourself. You chose to have us force you. There we go. We didn't violate the law. Perfect. All right, Flugskum, from the original Swedish Flugskum, meaning flight shame. Oh, guilt about flying experienced by environmentally conscious travelers is now an established word of German vocabulary. Imagine being that cucked. But then again, this is the same region that gave us Schadenfreude, which is very good. So while the opinion states that the Ethics Council is opposed to suspending democratic freedoms and processes to reach the desired climate goals, for now, unless you don't listen, then we'll have to suspend them. The group says it largely falls on the governments to provide the supportive framework conditions under which individuals can, as we say to the kids, make good choices. They need their enforcers to enforce this because no one else is going to do it. No one's voluntarily going to do this unless they're forced at gunpoint or with threat of being locked in a cage. That's the only way you could get this to happen. So these framework conditions, the opinion says, should, among other things, include lower speed limits. Oh, Germany's got a pretty good Autobahn lobby. Good luck trying that with them. Increased electromobility and increased CO2 taxes. The council suggests a personal emissions limit that cannot be exceeded, and even the ban on particularly climate damaging products or services, or as Apollo News puts it, a regulation as to who can buy what and to what extent. That's right, and who can use it once you bought it. So defining climate change as man-made due to, among other factors, the combustion of fossil fuels and the destruction of the forests and more since the beginning of the Industrial Revolution. The organization says Germany needs to take into account a long history of colonialism and industrialization, as well as ongoing neocolonial dependencies, meaning a distinction must be made between growth in countries of the global south that are catching up in development and further growth of consumption and resource use in industrialized countries, and appropriate compensatory payments must be negotiated. So they want to do reparations. At a time when the former European industrial powerhouse barely has its nose above water, it's questionable whether compensatory payments to the global south is on the traffic light coalition's radar, regardless of the Ethic Council's recommendations. Yeah, I don't even think the far leftists in their government are inclined to do that. So the Ethics Council is a 26-member independent organization representing diverse scientific, medical, theological, philosophical, ethical, social, economic, legal concerns. And no one really cares about what it is. It's got no power unless it's like the UN. Unless you give it power, it doesn't have any. So Germany, don't give them power.